So, before I run out of time, hello, welcome next. Hello, and welcome back to the next episode of the Self Development with Tactics podcast. And we will go straight ahead with. I'm so sorry. We will go straight ahead with. Again, sorry. With Titan tools, I think, or tools of Titan. I don't know. Wait, I just have to see. And yeah, I do not know why I can't scroll on this website. Tools of Titans is this great book called. It's actually a pretty great book because I think there is something in it for everybody. But I still have to quite underline or just point out once more that you should definitely be a little bit not pretty much concerned about what you're reading, but you should be just watching what you're reading and if this could be true or not. So just be a little bit skeptical, yes. Just had to had to search for the word. um, because often, yeah, you just read some things that might be good or might be true for some people, but actually not for you. So always try to pretty much, yeah, be sure if that's right or not. But whatever, we go ahead with four morning rituals, and if you might see, I'm a little bit brighter because I've turned the TV that is in front of me that I use as my second monitor to just see myself and to have a browser open and so on. I just made it so fucking bright that it is so incredibly, you know, uh, incredibly worse to just look at it and look at my screen and everything is so bright. You know these people who are wearing these blue light filter sunglasses? I would have to be such a person because I am so deeply um, under under light, under blue light, and everything is just hitting my fucking face, and everything is destroying my eyes. It seems to be like it, but I'm bright, and you can see everything in um, the camera that's in the MacBook is definitely better when the light is on. And because I do not have a proper light, I will just have to do this. So 5 morning rituals. Ferris explains that he has done a lot of experimenting trying to perfect his morning routine, and he acknowledges that everyone has different needs. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. However, these are the 5 things he does every day. He considers getting 3 out of 5 done a success. The first one is make your bed daily. By making your bed, you are working on your first task of the day, and achieving this will inject you with a little pride. This will motivate you to continue in the same manner throughout your day. This is actually something pretty funny because I think it was actually a woman who has actually has written a book about this whole topic, that you should make your bed at first, and I think this is even the title of the book. What I think about it, yeah, there could be something about it. If you do just run out of time, if you would just make your bed every single day, then don't do it. If you just do not have that much time, don't do it. If you have, quite the time to make it, I would also suggest to do it. I never do it. I maybe be starting to do it because it makes sense. Some sort of, if you just kind of do everything that you just have to do, and this really creates for you the discipline to just do everything you have to do, whether you like it or do not like it. But or just making my bed every single morning is something that I definitely do not like. But if I just do it anyways, this just, as I said, creates for me a framework where I just do everything that I have to do, whether I like it or not. The second one is meditate. Aim for 10 to 20 minutes per day. Meditation can look different for everyone, but Ferris emphasizes that over 80% of his guests feel that they benefit from meditation. I generally meditate in the evening or just before I go to bed. Why? Because I feel like, I do have the time then, and it feels good for me to just shut down just before I go to sleep. Sometimes it's a little bit disturbing for myself and a little bit bad for myself because if I just really have a lot to do and just really go to bed pretty late, then I just have to meditate these 10 minutes, and often it is like I'm not quite that that pretty much able to meditate correctly anymore, or I just feel like, yeah, man, it's just I'm wasting another 10 minutes of my precious sleep, especially during the week, and doing it in the mornings would be actually a better approach, because then I just can go to bed without any fear of just losing something out or just not meditating. But yeah, meditating I think is definitely something that has benefited my life as well, in terms of pretty much recognizing my feelings and seeing, okay, this is this feeling that I'm having. I could just let it go away, or I could just interact with it. So it's definitely like, and especially with being impatient, I always feel like, yeah, okay, I just notice the impatience, and then I rather just, most of the time, I just put it away, just be like, no, I do not want to impatient now. I do just, want a patient. Sometimes I just let it boil up a little bit, and then just be like, yeah, okay, it doesn't feel good, just put it away. This is something I feel like meditating really just learned me, or kind of, brought me the skill. The third one is less than a minute of exercise. Upon waking, smash out 5 to 10 reps of something, whether it be press-ups, squats, or sit-ups. This isn't considered a workout, but can have a great effect on blood flow and mood improvement. The fourth one is make titanium tea. Ingredients: pure aged black tea, dragon well green tea or other green tea, turmeric and ginger shavings, often also reishi brand. Add hot water and steep for 1 to 2 minutes. Once done, add 1 to 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. And the fifth one is journal. Take 5 to 10 minutes to write down some thoughts. Ferris uses the 5-minute journal when he answers a few questions about what he is grateful for, what would make the day better, and daily affirmations. I especially like the fifth one about the tea. Yeah, okay, if you just want to do it, do it. With the exercise, this could actually be a great thing if you just feel like very sluggish every single day when you wake up and just really not in the mood of getting up actually, then hitting a few reps, if it's not too some kind of difficult for you, because people who aren't just, into sports and into exercising, this definitely be a thing, or definitely is a thing that they do not like to do. But sorry, to just want to cover up my face again, and it is so fucking bright. I can't really explain how fucking bright it is. Oh my god. Every single day I just, tell myself, is it worth it destroying my fucking eyes every day, sitting so many hours in front of my PC to just, make this that I'm doing right now? And then but it is fun, so I'll do it. But I hope not that I do just, harm my eyes with it. So if you aren't a person who really likes to work out, this is something you will definitely not like to do as well. But especially the fifth one with being grateful and setting daily affirmations, or just maybe just really remembering your goals and so on, is definitely a good thing, especially the gratefulness, because if you are grateful, there is no other feeling that could appear. If you just really are consciously grateful for something, for your life, for you being for whatever, you definitely do not have any other fucking emotion than just gratefulness. So it may be the laziest mindfulness instructor in the world, because I tell my students that all they need to commit to is 1 mindful breath a day. Just one. Breathe in and out mindfully, and your commitment for the day is fulfilled. Everything else is a bonus. That's a pretty great one. And this was practically it with the health section of this book, or the health, chapter of the book actually. Because if you do not know, this book is just, it has 3 parts. The first one is health, the second one is wealth, which are what we are going to go through right now, and the third one is wise. And wise is, I think, something like mindset and just being grateful as well, and some kind of those things. Wealth is obvious, and health, I think, is also obvious. And to just really, kind of talk a little bit again about it. This book is from Tim Ferriss. He is the author of the 4-Hour Work Week and the 4-Hour Chef as well. So he is pretty knowledgeable, and he, is a businessman, which I do kind of know if he's actually that an entrepreneur as I think he is, because he's mainly into pretty much writing books and having his podcast and talking to really famous and successful people, which is pretty often just not a good sign for someone you get advice from, because often it could be like, yeah, this is just a person who is making money with teaching some people how to make more money. And therefore, this is not a person you should get advice of, because they just, tell you some shit just because they need to, I don't know, sell their books or just get more downloads on their podcasts or whatever. But because I know that this book, so Tools of Titan, is actually out of his, or produced out of his podcasts, which, or where he just often talks to very successful people with billionaires, millionaires, and people that have just achieved something pretty big. And therefore I know I can be a little bit, relaxed that I just pretty much rely on this book right now, because these successful people just tell him things, and then he just, kind of recognizes them, or just memorizes them, or just collages them some sort of, and then, this book comes out. But yeah, wealthy. Pricing and Silicon Valley. Ferris guest Mark Andreessen, or Andreessen, whatever, has had plenty of experience working in Silicon Valley. I didn't ever think that Silicon Valley was such an incredible and, high status or even mysterious thing. Actually, until Gary Vee was talking about it as something like, yeah, it's the place for the startups and it's the place for business and whatever, I've never really been thinking about it as like something, a really special place, or I don't know. And one of the overwhelming issues that he has noticed is that companies and startups are undervaluing their product and not charging enough. There has been a common belief amongst companies that in order to get as many customers as possible, you have to have a low-priced, accessible product on the market. No, definitely not. Because for me, and as my point of view, pricing and the price as it is just marketing. If you do have a premium product and a really high luxurious product, it just has to be expensive. Whether it's really worth the price or not, it has to be expensive because it's a premium product. If you're just a really cheap producer, like I don't know, pretty much every single product on AliExpress, then you just have to be cheap. It's just what AliExpress is like. It's cheap. And I don't know, Apple is expensive, and therefore they just have to make every single thing expensive and so on. And, it's just their brand. But, you can just be like, okay, we maybe shift our brand. This might be possible as well. So yeah, but on the other side, definitely there are products where, price is quality or value as well. Like in food, I would say, and in jewelry, definitely, because, diamonds are just expensive and gold is just expensive. Therefore, yeah, so practically, as long as, people buy it, you can just charge everything, if it just fits your brand and so on. So he's definitely right that, and this is actually something that I've heard quite often lately, that people seem to just undervalue their products and or their services pretty often. And I was like, yeah, I think that would happen to me as well, because I would think like, okay, I don't want to have such a high price for the service or whatever, because maybe just people won't come to me anymore. But it is also true that if I do have just so many clients that I do not know, where I should put them, that I just, raise up the prices or just, yeah. And this is actually some advice Gary Vee gave somebody who was on his podcast, that was, had just the same situation that I was just explaining, that he just, has so many clients that he doesn't know where to put them. Just Gary said, yeah, just raise your prices. But yeah, There's been a common belief amongst companies, I've read that. However, Andreessen explains that by not charging enough for a product, you're only undercutting yourself and you're left with not enough money to actually market the product. Therefore, how are people going to even know about your product? Moral of the story, know the value of what you're selling, don't get greedy and aim for value. Volume, definitely. Volume nowadays is pretty important. And this is something that I have been really implanting into my life, because for all the social media posts I do daily around 8. Most of the time, if everything works out, there are 8 posts every single day, in 2-hour intervals, actually, because I found this works pretty good for me and for my community and so on. Maybe it will get even more. Maybe I will just have 12 posts a day, which is also a little bit a critical point, because to be honest, the most of my viewers are from America or the United States, and therefore they have a completely different time zone than I have. The thing would then be I would just really have to quite schedule all the posts in their time. This is something I've never been thinking about, and now as I think about it, I should actually do it, because these are just the people out there. These people just have to see my content, because the most of the people are just from the United States. And therefore, because I'm not producing content for myself but for the people, I would just have to schedule it to their time. The problem on the other hand is that especially for changing this right now and just getting into this quite different schedulement or whatever, that during my day I actually have nothing to post and nothing to look at. So practically, if I wake up, the results I get there are just the results I will get for the entire day for me. So it will feel completely different and completely some kind of crazy. But yeah, maybe I will change it up. I don't know. I should, because actually, yeah, I'm not producing for myself, but for my target audience. And if they're just all in the United States, well, not my problem, or I shouldn't blame anybody or shouldn't complain, actually. Blah, 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 blah. I've read that. Say yes. And Derek Sivers emphasizes the importance of saying yes to opportunities in the early days. You will read a lot of productivity authors talking about learning how to say no and only agreeing to things that are really going to benefit you. But Silvers points out that when you're getting started in business, you really cannot afford to turn down an opportunity. You just don't know what might come of it. Totally, this makes sense. If you're just not in a position where you can be a little bit picky, don't be it. So when you're early in your career, I think the best strategy is to just say yes to everything. Every little gig, you just never know what are the lottery tickets. Totally. However, once you've reached a point in your career where you have had some success, this is where you can shift your thinking. If you don't instinctively think, hell yes, I'll do that, then say no. Once you've found your rhythm, have made a progress, it's time to stop filling all of your time with manual and mediocre tasks. Totally. Definitely. Being busy is not a good thing. It expresses a lack of priorities, as Ferris points out, so commitment to things that are really worth it and reject the rest. Ferris believes that business is really just another way of being lazy. Being busy is most often used as a guise or goose. It's GUISE for avoiding the few critically important but comfortable actions. One way that Ferris deals with procrastination and business is to identify just one must-do task. This reminds me on that one thing. So for all the people who didn't watch the episode or didn't listen to the episode, that one thing is a book about actually just really concentrating on one particular thing at a time, so that you do not get caught up in doing too much, because multitasking is actually something we can't do. but to just be sure that this one thing is, all the time you put into this one thing, and therefore this one thing there is no other way than this will grow. But yeah, he'll then blocks out a period of time to work on this. As long as he achieves this, then he considers this a success. He explains that if he begins the day knowing he has 10 important things to do, he was likely to get none of it done. Or actually not that well done. If you do have just so many things to work on, it's pretty much likely that you just make a little bit of everything but nothing good or well. It feels like a never-ending task list, but by identifying just the most important task, he can handle it and be sure it is completed. Don't be a dog. Matt Mullenweg or whatever he is called is one of the men behind WordPress. When he was a guest on Ferry's show, he explained the importance of not being a dog when it came to planning. Mullenweg used the metaphor of a dog chasing a car to explain what not to do. A dog may chase down a car, but what does he do if he catches the car? That's not something he has actually planned for. The dog lives in the right now. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have the what if mindset. Anything you do and anything you change, consider the possible results of that in 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. Always be thinking ahead and have a plan for success. This is actually the same exact thing that's pointed out in Their One Thing, so the book. But some kind of reverse engineered as, goal setting. You really do want to have a goal that just is. And there was actually a pretty nice graphic, so I would pretty much invite you to just look for the last few episodes. I think it's definitely not the last one, but the before should be the one. So there was somewhere a nice graphic, or you just Google for Their One Thing summary paulminus.com, which is actually the same website I am on right now. But he then just pointed out that if you have a really big goal and the really big goal lasts for or just will be achieved in 5 years, then you can just break it down into a goal that you will achieve in 1 year. Then you can break this down into a goal you can achieve in half a year, and then in 1 month, and then in a week, and then today, and then in the really right now. And this is the point, that you should break up this whole and big piece of achievement into a really, 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 really small thing that you can actually do right now. And this is the good thing about it, because you can just start right now with this small task, and you will progress as much as you will just come and, get this whole piece of it and, just achieve this one goal you have. And this is actually a good advice, I thought, because a lot of times people seem to be just overwhelmed by their really big goals. Having big goals is totally okay and you should totally do it. But people just seem to be overwhelmed quite often, which is, makes sense, of course, because, saying, I want to be a millionaire in the next 2 years is definitely something that you will just have to really work on. But yeah, so this just some kind of reminded me of it, but some kind of not reverse engineered, so yeah. But actually, as they said, it's definitely something that's, just having a plan is kind of the point for me. Having a plan and to be sure that, okay, if, this goes down, I still do have this and that, so everything is safe. Or, if I just, miss the, miss this appointment or this meeting or whatever, I will just don't be fucked because I do have my manager there and, everything is good. So to always have some kind of security for you, a backup plan if something doesn't go the way it should go. Even though, and this leads me to something that that Arnold Schwarzenegger has said, which is, if you do have a plan B and a plan A, this is not good, because if you do have a plan B while having a plan A, then you aren't really sure of the plan A. because you are like, yeah, there might be a little bit something that could appear that fucks the whole plan A, that you have the plan B. He rather says that you should totally just burn every bridge and every boat and go for plan A and really just thrive for it. Yeah. Yeah. Investors. Tony Robbins has spent a lot of time learning about investments and investors. He came up with 4 patterns among successful investors. They all have an obsession with not losing money. Before entering any business opportunity or investment, ask yourself what the downside is and how you can be protected against it. The second one is they are also all obsessed with asymmetrical risk and reward. This essentially means that they are focused on minimum risk with maximum results. It's not all about taking high risks for huge rewards. The thing is, if you do just have, an asymmetrical risk and reward thing, then, and hopefully a positive one, and not like, you have just a really really high risk but really low return, which is definitely something you should not do. But if you do it, or if you have it the other way around, this just means that it will take a lot of time, most of the time, I would say. Because it's the same thing with index funds, which Warren Buffett and Tony Robbins and quite a lot of people suggest you to invest in, which is something that you just quite invest into a lot of companies at the same time with many other people, as I remember correctly. Which leads to the point that you maybe have a kind of fund where Amazon is in, and Google is in, and Apple is in, and all these big tech companies, or there is actually one, I think. Then you come to the point where you can't lose anything over a very big period of time, because all these companies will just sustain somehow, or at least one of them. So yeah. The third one is asset allocation. All investors know that at some point they are going to make the wrong decision, and that's why asset allocation is so important. They all know the importance of diversifying. And what he means, I think, is that you should not put all your eggs in one basket. Which is like, okay, if this stock goes down, I still have 3 other stocks that will just back me up. And which means that you have at least 4 stocks. I do not say that you just have to have 4 stocks, but you should be backed up somehow and not put everything onto one card or all your money into one stock. Because if this goes down, your whole money is away. And therefore, if you do just have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stocks, you're just backed up and everything is okay. If one of them goes down, or even 5 of them goes down, then you still have 5 others that might just balance everything out. Or you even make a profit because of these 5. And the fourth one is actually the final pattern Robbins noted was that they were all passionate about giving and being generous. They weren't tight or overly frugal or whatever. The next thing is work hard. Casey Neistat can be considered a YouTube sensation, but he has worked hard for his success. His philosophy really emphasizes the point that you have to work for what you want. You have to work harder than everyone else if you really want to find success. You realize that you will never be you will never be the best looking person in the room. You will never be the smartest person in the room. You will never be the most educated and the most reversed or well versed. You can never compete on those levels, but what you can always compete on, the true egalitarian aspect to success, is hard work. You can always work harder than the guy next to you. And that's totally right. It's definitely the thing, you might not have the talent, or might not have the money, or might not have whatever, but you still can work and outwork everyone else. This is, everything, or everybody can do this. And yeah. Moving fast, Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, has some valuable insights when he was a guest on Ferry's show. One of the standout messages he has was speed. In order to move fast, I expect you'll make some fault or food faults. I'm okay with an error rate of 10 to 20% times when I would have made a different decision in a given situation if it means you can move fast. That's definitely what I talk often about. And that's totally true. Nowadays it's really good to just be fast without being 100% accurate. It's the same thing as Jeff Bezos actually pointed out, and it makes sense for me. Similarly, Peter Thiel believes that waiting is not always necessary. How many people are simply bidding their time waiting? They finish school, go to university, do post-grad study, get a post-grad job, etc. But Thiel explains that all of these long-term 10-year career plans aren't necessary. He asks, can you get there in just 6 months? Obviously, in some cases the 10 years are going to be the necessary, but consider whether the timing is entirely necessary or if it is something you are inflicting upon yourself as a stalling tactic. And that's definitely right, because often it just is because it is, and it's like it's intelligent to do something like this. Not everybody has to go to college, not everybody has to go on a university, not every just really really rich and successful person must be out of Harvard or I don't know, Cambridge or whatever. Startups and making money. Ferris shares some of his own experiences from being involved in startups and investments. He has a couple of rules and tips that he recommends everyone considering when venturing into the startup game. The first one is, if you have set rules that are well thought out and intelligent, then follow the fucking rules, no matter what. You clearly set the rules with intentions, don't break them when something tempting comes up. And this is actually good advice if you just, feel like, to invest in this and that is actually a good opportunity and so on, but it will just completely and clearly break one of your rules. Don't do this. Because, if he says, or just, he points out that if it is a good rule and if it is a good framework, then why would you? The second one is, failure is inevitable when it comes to startups. Most of them will fail. So to cover your losses, you need to make sure that the successes are really worth it. The third one is when it comes to investing and angel or angle investments, you have to be 100% comfortable with losing all of your money. You should only gamble with an amount that you can afford to lose. Yes, that's a good advice, I guess. Limit angle investments, funds to 10 to 15% of your liquid assets, never more. I don't know the shit, so if you know the shit, then this might be a good advice. When designing a product, you have to be keen to use the product yourself. It is not something you're interested in, avoid it. This is something I would definitely say not at all, because especially when designing a product, you should definitely design a product that is not for you if you're not the target audience. You should definitely design a product that's for the person that's in the target audience, and they should, like it, not you. Should I go through? Yeah, definitely. System versus goals. A valuable lesson from Scott Adams was the difference between goals and systems. By focusing on systems rather than goals, you allow yourself to focus on improving your skills and relationship without focusing too much on the outcome. Therefore, if you fail, it's not that you haven't met your goal, you still developed and improved transferable skills. Adams emphasizes that by choosing these kinds of projects or habits, will inevitably lead to long-term success. The skills you learn in the process will carry over onto other projects that will lead to a win. Don't treat your system as a binary pass-fail situation. Consider systems as something that can have a snowball effect. Ferris explains how he uses this advice in the development of his podcast. When he began, he didn't know what it was going to be like and just wanted a break from writing. He gave himself the chance to do 6 podcasts and see if he enjoyed it. Worst case scenario, he would be able to develop his interviewing skills that would come in handy in other projects. Little did he know that the podcast would become a real passion and a big part of his business. If I have learned anything from podcasting, it's don't be afraid to do something you're not qualified to do. Definitely. And this is also, some kind of funny with my podcast, because there is so much reason why I'm doing so much reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I will develop my English speaking skills and my overall English skills, because I do have to write as well in my posts. I have to speak, I have to listen, I have to read. Listen not that much. I listen just, in my free time. But I also get a knowledge about business. I also know how to market my own shit. I also know how this whole, podcasting thing is done, how this whole posting thing is done. There's so much I can learn passively, and because of the stuff I'm now discussing with you, totally actively as well, which is just incredible. I do get a lot out of it, and I create a lot of value for other people in my process as well, which is beautiful. The formula for success. Scott explains that an average life is easy. All you need to do is avoid trouble, get a good education, and get a job you enjoy. However, if you want to lead an extraordinary life, you need to do one of those things. Either be the very first at one specific thing, or be very good, top 25%, at 2 or more things. Scott explains that the first option is almost impossible and something not many people will ever achieve. And totally, this pretty much reminds me of a book from I think his last name is Brunson. He's the maker of ClickFunnels, and he explained that just to be the first one in the market nowadays is pretty fucking difficult, because we have everything, we have computers, we have quite everything. And so therefore, making your own market to be the first one in it is the best thing to do. Just, making something completely different nobody has done is pretty easy, or just making your own market. But it's some kind of correlated to what he says, is that just be the best is better than being the first one, definitely. You can just, because of the thing we have learned just before, is that you can still outwork everyone if you really want to. Blah, 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 blah. But the second strategy is simply something that is capable of. Scott's advice is always to add public speaking as one of your 2 or more skills, combining being a good public speaker with any other skill, and you have the recipe for some pretty decent success. Totally. Speaking in public is something that quite not so many people are able to do. In a good term, some kind of. But definitely something that I would like to do as well. I thought about it today while I was in the train, actually, and I thought about it like, doing it in English will maybe be even easier than doing it in German, even though I was not quite sure about it. And on the other hand, I was like, doing it in German might be easier for me to just, do some things that I haven't planned to do, and so on. So, Capitalism rewards things that are both rare and valuable. You make yourself rare by combining 2 or more pretty good until no one else has your mix. Totally. And I think this is the same thing with YouTube. There are so much gaming YouTubers, but everyone is their own personality, and everyone has their own, just, they are all their same, or all their self. So pretty much, even though there are 1 million Minecraft YouTubers out there are 1 million Fortnite YouTubers nowadays out there, you can still be a Fortnite YouTuber and a successful one, because if people just enjoy you, they will definitely watch you rather than Ninja or some people else, because they like you. Just ask. Noah Kagan explains that in business you have to get comfortable asking for things. You don't necessarily have to be asking for miracles, but you have to be confident enough to put yourself out there. He recommends that anyone interested in entrepreneurship takes on the coffee challenge. The next 5 or 6 times you order a coffee, ask for 10% off. If it doesn't sound like a lot, but he acknowledges that it's hard to do. But doing this just a few times will improve your confidence and help you get comfortable with asking. And this is actually one of the reasons why I would definitely like to work as a person who has to just work with people more and really direct as my internship. And besides, being a marketer and a designer or something, which would be something I would definitely like, especially when working for someone I pretty much admire. Um, but this would actually be something that I pretty much would enjoy, because it would just build my confidence so fucking immensely, and my skill to actually go to people and ask them, which is definitely important if you have a business and if you have a service for all, especially if you have a service, because you then just have to ask people. For me, I have been in the position where I went into just people's places and asked for them to just manage their social media accounts. I did it 2 times and quite never again. It was an experience. I do just think about it nowadays as well, in quite a negative way, some sort of, even though I shouldn't, because I learned from it and I've learned from it. And if I would have done it more often, or just every single day a few times, or the whole day even, I would have just been one of the best. And just some person might have, or definitely would have, just said yes. It's just a matter of how many people you ask. It's not like your idea is shit or you are shit. It's just they don't need your service or your product or whatever, but someday some person will say yes, and then everything is good, and then you just build from that as a exponential thing, I would say. And I think it's the same thing as everybody started with something. It's the same thing as you started with your Instagram account, or I've started with mine. That at first you just get 1 like, which is actually something that Gary Vee has made a post about today. You just get the first like, and someday you get 2 likes, and then you get 3 likes, and so on. That everything is exponentially growing, and everything is so fast. Today I've actually reached my 500 posts, which is incredibly, if you just look at it as a number. It's just a lot of fucking posts and a lot of effort as well. And but as you might can see, we have just finished the wealthy category, or the wealthy chapter, or whatever. And and with this chapter I want to say goodbye, and I want to wish you pretty much fucking ultimate happiness, success, health, wealth. I hope you're giving something back, and a great legacy. Just being nice, and everyone likes you, and when you die everyone is like, yeah man, it's so sad that he died, which is something that I want to achieve. And therefore I'm kind of wishing it to you, because you might like it as well. I wish you a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.